Hey folks, Phil B-Man here. I'm looking at one of my broodless splits from last year, and it's looking real nice. In fact, it's nice enough, a lot of these, that I can steal a few bees to make up some of my queen rearing setups. So I'll just show you this hive as I go through it. I'm looking for the queen to try to find, I want to shake off about 2 frames of bees here just to make up a bit of a package. This is a Kona queen. Yep. You can tell there's the cage. Even have the Kona right in the back, and that's, remember, those cages were at the back because I just stuck them in the underneath last fall. So that's why they're positioned at the bottom of the frame. That worked out really well. These hives have been extremely low maintenance, and except they did need feeding. They did not take in the huge amount of feed that, or I guess what they didn't have is reserve feed when I made them up. Usually when I make up a new split, I'd put old honey on the outside frames. These were made up with dry boxes, so they didn't have a ton. Oh, there's our girl. Nice looking queen. So we're just going to leave her there. That's not huge hive, but I think I can get away with shaking. You know, there's a lot of foragers in the air. I want to take a light shake off of 2 frames here. And I'm going to shake these into my funnel. This is just a piece of plastic that I bent into a tube. 4 hockey sticks on a broken super makes my funnel. I'll just shake it once, and then the next time I shake, we can show the bottom down here, maybe on the sunny side. There's a minute. Oh, you can see that. Okay, ready? Okay. And then that should be enough in that package. I'll show you what this looks like. So this is a screened box, lots of ventilation, and then I have this sort of a ventilated plug. Goes in there and keeps the bees from overheating in the middle, especially when there's no junk in it. And those boxes look like this when they're empty. You can put a couple pounds of bees. If you overload them, those bees will cook. So they can't be so heavy that they're laying on top of each other. They have to be enough that they can hang. So it's very easy to overdo it. And then once you have your box full, then you got to go put it in the shade. Here's one that's been made up for a while. You can see, well, the bulk of the bees are in kind of a crescent here. They'll settle down after a while. And we'll take those home and spill them into a couple queenless hives I have there to set up a really bountiful population for my starter. But so 2 things, you know, how you shake bees, and the other thing is how these broodless splits are doing. I'm pretty excited about this broodless split thing as a path towards sustainability for my farm. You know, we've gotten used to 20, 25, even 30% losses being kind of normal, and boy, that's tough. And especially if you get losses, you know, more than, you know, we got beekeepers, you know, every year it's somebody who's looking at, you know, 50%, 60% losses. if you split the rest of your hive so thin to make that back before your honey season, you're just not going to have any production. So being able to make splits, I fall guilty to putting on a super at the honey flow's already pretty much telling me it's over, but I try for one more box. If instead I put on a box to fill with bees and make a split, I for sure would have made a couple $100 value by having that new hive instead of the 5 pounds of honey I would have got on that last hurrah at the end of the honey flow. So boy, the economics of that really makes sense to me. So I hope those folks, and trust me, I've been there, I've had high losses too. If that's you, don't cut your crop to nothing trying to split all your numbers back in 1 year. Make some honey, take some splits at the end of the summer. I've done it I think 4 years now. First year was just a few, second year was 100, next year was 150, and I think last year I did over 300, and they're as good a hives as any I have. So, and now I can do it with less work. That shows me how to really ramp that up. So stay tuned for that, I guess. Okay, we've got these probably about 6 pounds of bees. We've got 2 hives here that came home queenless, and they're really queenless. I mean, you can just hear them roaring. And they, even though we'll be adding these bees that came from queen right hives, they'll very quickly want to adopt cells. So we're going to shake those in. Got a bit of a landing board here, so I'll shake some in at the top, some in the front. You ever wonder why queens are expensive, or queen cells are expensive? One of the realities is it takes a lot of bees to make some queens. Same over here. The extra bees will walk in. All right, we're going to leave these to cool down for a bit, and then we will close them up. I've left this space. I'll be in these, working these every day, putting in new racks of queen cells I might graft every other day, probably every day to start. So it's nice to have that little bit extra space so that you can push the frames apart, push them back together. They might build a little comb in there, but that's okay. It's easier than pulling an extra frame out every time. So these are what we call starters, queenless hives that are just dying to get a new queen, and they will, and you also need lots of young nurse bees, so that's why we were robbing those hives when we're making up these packages, robbing, shaking frames of brood to make sure we have the young nurse bees on a beautiful hot afternoon when all the foragers were off in the field. So this is preponderantly young bees. They will very quickly adopt these hives as their own, and the only job there'll be no eggs or young brood, so the only brood they'll have to feed is the larvae I give them. They'll go bananas for it and make really nice queen cells. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great day.